when the times are good is the time when you focus on and prepare for yourself that it's not always going to be the same. You know, you have to prepare for those winters, and some of these winters are financial winters, and some of these winters economic winters and personal winters. So you have to prepare for that time where your business is not going to be on the top, the conditions are not going to be on the top. So I guess it was subconsciously one of the key aspects of myself whilst I was running my business was that, hey, I always have to stay relevant, because that is the name of the game in this industry, where people have to know that, yes, you know, if you are being successful, if you are doing the numbers, if you are doing the sales, if you are genuinely able to offer successful results to clients, then you need to market yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, we market ourselves as being marketing specialists, right? Yeah. So if you can't market yourself, then I guess you really can't call yourself a specialist.
Welcome back, Leverage Addicts, where we cover incredible stories of property investors. I'm your host, Blandon, and we have an extraordinary guest with us today, Harsimran Singh. Now, I want to give you guys a bit of a background story, as always. I first met Harsimran when I was first starting out in financial services. So before all of this, you know, paying off your mortgage faster, I was actually selling income protection insurance. And at the time, I was cold calling all the agents across Auckland, looking for agents with, you know, they have a decent amount of sold listings. Then I know, okay, they're probably earning a decent income and therefore they might need income protection. Now, initially, he ignored all my calls. He was just head down selling, and luckily, his colleague, Rubel, actually referred me to him. He's like, you got to meet Blandon. Blandon helped me out with this thing. And that was it, that one appointment. And ever since, we became sort of acquaintance. But there was several years that we were, you know, head down. And, you know, when I first started, like, I was making 20,000, right, selling insurance. And at the time when Harsimran was allowing me to do his business, he was already earning 200,000. And I was shocked because the dude's the same age as me, and he was already really successful at what he was doing. So fast forward, you know, we had our heads down doing our own thing. And now when I had time to look up, this guy has been smashing it in the industry. He's the owner of New Age Realty, which is part of Hardcore franchise. Got 4 branches at the moment: Papatui, Karaka, The Gardens. You know, some might say it's Manariwa, but he likes to call it The Gardens, and Papakura as well. Also got to learn he doesn't just sell real estate because he invested heavily in the market. He doesn't just sell, make sure he invests as well. And I wanted to touch on that as well because it is a part of the journey. If you're building wealth, you're building a business, then property is one of those things that you end up doing. And when it comes to selling down south, I just want to say Harsimran is my number one choice because it's not just a listing to him. He really get involved with the advice side of things. I got really good advice. He just knows the development part of the market inside out. He gives good tips on how we can sell it on a better price. So, and he's also, in his business, I can see, built a great team culture, and it's about the client. So it aligns perfectly with what we do. And I'm really glad to have you on today, Harsimran.
Good to be here, Blandon. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. And today I want to dive into, you know, like what made Harsimran, like a little bit insight to your journey and sort of understand like the decision making behind the business, the properties, and just the work ethic from like the moment when I met you. I was like, dude, this guy is like on another level. He's already got his head down. He's not, you know, like very, very focused. So if we bring it back, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate and what drove you to really push hard in this space?
Yeah, no, totally. Look, I'll start right from the beginning, and it goes back to 2008 is when I first came into the country, and from there on did, surprisingly enough, I studied network engineering, which I probably don't know much about now anyways. And in 2012 was when I first started real estate as a salesperson. And
this is what, 20, straight out of uni?
12 years ago, yeah. So straight out of uni. So I came here, did my network engineering, and did a small stint at a telecom company. And straight after that, or actually, whilst I was working there, 9 to 5, I kind of figured out that it wasn't quite for me. And I lacked quite a few disciplines to do a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I was more focused on a lot more growth, as anyone is around that age. If you've got a bit of motivation and you've got a strong why, you want to get up the ranks fairly quickly. I couldn't see myself sort of lasting there long term. So
what did your family say though? You just graduated engineering degree, and you're like, no, mom and dad, I'm going to go sell real estate.
Well, everyone in my family my dad was definitely not too much in favor of becoming self-employed. Actually, no one in my family ever has done business. So
really?
Everyone's been in either armed forces or gone down the fixed or permanent employment kind of track, but no one's actually worked for themselves. So it was quite a bit of a change.
Yeah.
But
were you disowned for a little while? Or?
No, actually didn't quite get to that. But yeah, they did sort of express their sort of hesitation with it. But my parents have been very supportive of anything that I've sort of decided to do. And looking back at things now, I actually made my own decisions, even though I'd consult the appropriate people in that. Yeah. But I've nevertheless gone ahead with whatever I decided to. So 2012 when I started, and the key thing, or one of the big sort of struggles there, was that the office that I started with, it was with Harcourt's brand, but that was a brand new office of Harcourt's, and the business owner that we were working with then was also a sort of a new business owner. So the only agent out of the two, and in a new office where your typical startup seems like, helping out or tagging along with a more experienced agent and working off of their listings or helping out with open homes and that. So we didn't have any of that. So it was thrown in the deep end with very little tools and actually no idea how to go about from it, but I guess in hindsight now, it kind of made me the man that I am now, and also built a very strong ethic where, for it not to work was just not an option. Yeah. And so I started off fairly soon on that. Made my first sale in 3 weeks, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we had, even though there was, say, no listings and not really much or any business to work on as you'd come into the office, but I was spending majority of my time, I'd spending about 10 to 12 hours in the office, and just the conversations that you'd have with other colleagues from other brands. There was a few real estate offices around, and I was meeting new people on the regular. The first listing was actually quite a hustle, where I was told of this property, which was listed with a few different agencies. You call it basically a general listing. And I happened to be working with a few buyers or potential purchasers. And I took this person through, because only a few properties that I had knowledge of or on the books. And it happened to be of their liking. So at that time, obviously didn't know yourself, so I took them through to the local bank, BNZ, and I guess the purchaser and myself both just left it at that. Yeah. And then I get a call from the BNZ mortgage lady, and she's like, "Her finance is approved."
Really?
I'm like, wow. Okay.
But that's an extra mile you went just to take them to the branch.
Yeah, correct. And I used to make sure that every single, box was ticked and T's were crossed. And I guess that is the mindset and hustle that I guess even in this day and age that everyone sort of needs and needs to go into with that mindset, really. Yeah.
What I'm really interested to know is how you went from engineering to real estate. That's a very far gap, right? Yeah. In between the two. There must be some bridge in between to allow you to go, you know what, that is the industry I want to go in.
Yeah, look, I had a few acquaintances. The particular business owner that I ended up working with, I knew him before starting real estate, and some of the lifestyle and some of the successes that I'd seen with people that, or specifically being real estate agents, that was something that really drew me to it. Engineering was never an interest of mine. It just happened to be that I enrolled in that course. I didn't quite finish my degree. I actually left in, I can't remember which semester now. I think it was halfway through, because I didn't see myself following through with the kind of role in the job space, but also because by that time, I was hooked. I wanted to be a business owner, and I wanted to work for myself. I wanted the lifestyle. I wanted to be my own boss kind of thing,
So I can definitely tell your parents are not traditional Indian parents.
They're definitely not. My mum's no longer with us, God bless her. But my dad, no, he's been very supportive and yeah, he's helped me every step of the way. So
That's awesome to have that level of support, especially when you're making those big transitions.
absolutely,
You need the confidence.
You need that courage. You need that, confidence, both from within yourself, but more importantly from people around you. Because you could be as determined as you can be to be taking that, leap of faith, and to be trying out and going through all those, the scary part of leaving that consistent income and trialing out or working towards a commission income, which was entirely the case in this industry. But that support and that reassurance from the family, partner, or whoever it is, your support channel there, is very important. Otherwise,
did Ruble play a big part in that?
Ruble played a really big part in that, where we started at the same time and very consistently, I guess, from 2012 to 2018. For 6 years, we were bouncing off of each other. Like the competition was great. It helped us outgrow ourselves. It helped us push to the next level. And I'd call it quite healthy competition that we had. And the ethics were strong. We had good morals. And I guess every step of the way that one person succeeding would motivate the other person to outdo the other one, but in a real healthy and real friendly way.
That's good.
So I guess, him being around there did play a strong part in me constantly beating his ass. No,
I remember you guys were like, to me, I was like, man, this is like a really good camaraderie, brotherhood,
absolutely.
kind of bonding I can see.
He's a good lad.
Yeah, good on you guys. And so if we fast forward, you went into New Age Realty?
Yes. So from 2012 onwards, first year was exceptionally great. As a salesperson, I wasn't expecting that. I ended up getting the REINZ. So REINZ is a Real Estate Institute of New Zealand, which is sort of more like an association that all brands are linked to.
Yeah.
And so I got the Rising Star, the Rookie of the Year, runner-up across all brands for the entire New Zealand for the first year, which was quite an achievement and probably still one of the top achievements that I hold close to my heart. So from there on, I did consistently well to getting the top 20 for Harcourts nationally and internationally as well. But around 2017 is where the business that we were working with sort of went through a bit of rough patch and eventually had to go into liquidation. And from there on, from that point, I was sort of stuck at a crossroads where I had to decide whether I was going to do my own thing, as in open up my own business, or was going to align myself with a different brand. Now, the difficult aspect for me was that I was very comfortable and very sort of happy with the brand that I was associated with, that is Harcourts. Mm-hmm. Now, Harcourts, going into a bit of a rocky patch, there was a few opportunities that were open where I had an opportunity to open up my own Harcourts office. So I went for a few recruitment meetings, sat down with a few business owners, and quite honestly, I just couldn't find or see the spark that I was sort of looking for or I could align my energy with. But more importantly, I was sort of in touch with a few people that just wanted a little bit of a difference and wanted something out of the ordinary that was out there on the market. And that's where I decided to open up the first office in Papatoetoe in late 2018. And that's how New Age started, New Age of real estate.
Can you try to explain, like, what was the tipping point? Because you were still on this crossroad, right? Like, what was it that you heard? What was the motivation that okay, I will do it?
To be very honest, it was around when I was deciding which way to go. It was more around the talks that I was sort of kind of hearing out in the market in terms of that it's unlikely for me to do that or I'd be an unlikely success in that field. It kind of came as more of a challenge to me.
Wow. Okay.
And I know that's not ideal and you shouldn't be basing your decisions based on that. But deep down and from within, I knew that I wasn't too focused on my own success and I had the mindset and the courage to surround myself with like-minded people, surround myself with people and individuals that were hungry, that were keen, that were wanting to do and perform in the marketplace or in the industry or make a name for themselves. But a lot of the players out there in the market just didn't offer the right sort of platform, the guidance, or that practical support, which I believed that we could. And quite to my surprise as well, was that had huge amount of success with new to the industry agents and you could say the underdogs.
Yeah, no, like I definitely remember one thing you said to me, and I shared this with you before, was like, I was like, man, you're doing really well. Like, how do you invest your money? And you say, like, lots of people, do well in this industry. They spend the money on this thing and that thing. I'm reinvesting into marketing. And you're like, I have my billboards.
Well,
I was like, this guy has a long-term vision, right? Like, even though you might not realize it yourself, it's like, actually, you just see a lot further than a lot of people.
It's always been a mindset of mine to understand and realize that, look, when the times are good is the time when you focus on and prepare for yourself that it's not always going to be the same. You have to prepare for those winters, and some of these winters are financial winters, and some of these winters economic winters and personal winters. So you have to prepare for that time where your business is not going to be on the top, the conditions are not going to be on the top. So I guess it was subconsciously one of the key aspects of myself whilst I was running my business was that, hey, I always have to stay relevant because that is the name of the game in this industry where people have to know that, yes, if you are being successful, if you are doing the numbers, if you are doing the sales, if you are genuinely able to offer successful results to clients, then you need to market yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, we market ourselves as being marketing specialists, right? Yeah. So if you can't market yourself, then I guess you really can't call yourself a specialist.
That's really good.
So I mean, and this over the next so many years, we've seen where, and it's actually the transitions happened in our lifetime. It's actually happened while we've been working, where there was no social media, there was no podcasts, there was none of that. And I've seen when the first few pages for real estate agents came out, and then it used to be, okay, well, he's got so many likes and they've got more audience. We didn't even understand what this audience is going to look like or how it's going to turn and how it's going to become a lead generation thing, and how, this is, although it seems like ages ago, but it's only just a few years ago when this transition happened. And now, like it or not, marketing has become such an integral part of the business. I mean, there's specific individuals now that are dedicated in offices now, and hopefully everyone does have them, but you need dedicated marketing people in the business.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
very important for any business owner nowadays. You have to at least have a website and some reviews.
Well, yeah. Well, that's touching base on the basics of things. But yeah, reinvesting back into the business was a key part, and it carries on to be a key part of my model moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a selfish question. Yeah. I've experienced the service from your team, the care from them, and it always comes down to like the team culture that the leadership or your few key people have developed. What are your core principles when it comes to that?
It's very interesting when you're in the service industry, which we really are. I mean, we're often dealing with the biggest assets that individuals have. There's a lot of emotion that can be involved. There can be a lot of discomfort that people may be in, given the current environment as well. What we've seen is that certain people are hurting, and us being real estate agents, there's always a stereotype that you find yourself being associated with. One of the core principles that we have as real estate agents, or what I tend to pass on to the team, is that we always keep people first. That is a very important aspect of our business, where everything comes before, like our clients come before anything else. We need to make sure that we understand the situations, and whatever their circumstances and the situation is, we prioritize their needs, their requirements, and their solutions before anything else. I mean, we don't ever treat a transaction as a single transaction. That one transaction can lead to so much more business, but also at the same time, that one transaction can leave a very sour taste with a client, which we may not have paid as much attention to, or their conditions, or their needs, or their situation. So I guess putting people first is a key thing. It's also one of the Harcourt's core values. We believe in fun and laughter. That's a key aspect of any business. From time to time, being a commission-based industry, things can be a bit hard, things can be a bit tough, things can be quite competitive. So it's very important to, celebrate the successes, but also at the same time, it is serious business and there's no room for, goofing around, but fun and laughter is a key aspect of the business. Also, one of the key core values is doing the right thing. We were talking about that at our sales meeting today, is we need to make sure that because of the dollar figure associated with the transactions that we do, there is very little or no room for error. So prioritizing the right thing or the right path, it's very important. At times, and in any industry, you can be at the crossroads where, things may seem as quick money or sort of getting a quick paycheck, but no, that's not the right way to go about things. And doing the right thing is a very, very core principle that we have to give our clients the right sort of information, to make sure they're not disadvantaged in any way, and they get the best for their asset.
Not taking it for granted.
Look, I'm a very strong believer in what goes around comes around. You have to make sure that you treat people with respect, you understand and don't question anyone's intelligence. A quick buck is going to cost you on the long run. So doing it the right way, doing it properly, there's no shortcuts to success. There's no quick way to win in a short period of time. You have to do the hard yards. It's a long game, and the only way you can do that is if you're doing the right thing.
That's so good. That will become your shorts that's going to replay over and over again on your team page. So I want to talk about property investing. Now, because I've worked with a lot of agents in my time, like I said, I talk to a lot of agents, and some of them make really good money, and sometimes investing wasn't such a focus because, you sell another real estate, you get the commission, and then you move on, right? Like, you don't think about buying more. I want to know, what triggered you to go, you know what, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to do it early. And you just kept doing it. And tell me about the strategy and, what are your best investments?
So it was really hard and difficult for me to sort of pin down a strategy for myself, because you also don't want to make the wrong decisions. And, since you're supposed to be the experts in your field, you don't want to be stuck with a lemon or a property that, is not quite ideal or matches your sort of investing plan. So I guess I tried to keep it real simple when it came to property investment. One of the key things that I saw in the marketplace which kind of put me off, was that no one was taking real estate seriously as a career. People were using it as a stepping stone into moving into development or trading and flipping. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with development and there's nothing wrong with trading and flipping. I think there's a huge conflict of interest if you're a real estate salesperson and you're doing developments and quite actively, not the odd one for holding and rent, but if you're actively becoming a developer or if you're doing trading and flipping yourself, I think there is a strong level of conflict of interest where, you can't offer the same services to clients because then you're looking out for the really good deals. I had no interest in that. I still don't have any interest in that, but I do have a strong interest in increasing my rental portfolio. And given at that time and still at the moment, what caught my interest was home and income properties or multi-income properties or blocks of units or properties with reasonable return. Now, I haven't worked on any formulas or certain percent return on properties. I mean, that's probably something that you would be giving advices on and that. But I personally myself have pretty much gone for multi-income properties. I've got a block of units. I've got home and income properties. I've got properties that I have put minor dwellings on, but they're all long-term rentals. I haven't bought properties for a vision of
development or...
Well, they all have development potential.
Yeah.
So it's always been in the back of the mind. If I end up doing that is another question. But I guess even in the worst of times, it's because that these properties have had a decent rental return that it's been okay.
Yeah.
So I guess and also the other key aspect for me has been that, look, if you buy the property with the intention of flipping or reselling, then that is more of a habit of yours, and you're going to buy and quickly flip a property, and then you're going to do it again, and then you're going to do it again. I don't know. I just find it more like gambling.
Yeah.
And I don't like to gamble. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. Pretty much hate it. And I do feel that if you get into a regular habit of it, of trading and flipping, that sooner or later you're going to get caught out.
Yeah.
When, like we saw the market sort of changing and flipping. My intention's always been that, and I think the ideal way of doing it is that wealth creation is in my opinion about accumulating assets and holding on to them, and it's the wealth that grows along with those assets in terms of capital growth, which is a long-term thing. You do get the odd instance where, like we've seen, where there's these increases come in a short time frame. Yeah. And you either need to get really quickly used to how to manage that, or otherwise it's going to go out just as fast as it came in.
Yeah.
So I buy and hold, and I don't know how long for, but any opportunity or any time that I'm capable of or eligible to purchase more, I'll just keep buying more.
So with your property investing, I want to expand on it a little bit more. Tell me about this first investment property that you bought. How much did you buy it for, and why did you buy it?
Okay, so my first investment property actually was before I started real estate. So I was I was fortunate enough to, as soon as I got this was after my networking gig there, I got my residence fairly soon, and I was advised by the real estate person that I was sort of associated with, who later on became our business owner, to invest in buying a property. Mm-hmm. My first property was when I had just turned 20, and thanks to Dad, he had gifted me a deposit to buy a property in Mangere. I remember Mangere East was my first property, 900 square meters. And
really?
I still remember $380 was the rent. And after mortgage repayments, I bought it for $242. So after mortgage repayments, $242. So the mortgage was about $190. This was in 2011.
Jeez.
Yeah. So mortgage was about 190 something. Rent was 380, and after mortgage repayments, I was getting about $80 a week left over.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't get those stats now, eh?
You don't get those stats, and one of the big mistakes that I made earlier on in my investment side of things is that I sold a few properties I should not have, and that is one advice. Actually, one of the key advice that I would give to other investors is that unless you need to sell, do not sell. Property will always...
Well, I'm a strong believer in replacing. If they sell,
then replace.
As long as they replace it with another investment opportunity that's bigger,
correct,
then that's fine.
Yeah, but don't just sell it that, okay, well, let me play it a bit safe and this and that. As long as you can afford it, and as long as you've got professional financial advice from the experts here. But yeah, if you don't need to, don't. I actually sold that property because I was talked into it.
Yeah.
I started real estate, and this person wanted to market it as a dollar reserve, actually, funny enough, for their own marketing, and I was being naive in that, and I sold it.
Yeah.
Bought a car.
Yeah,
that was my motivation. Looking at, in hindsight, look, in under 10 years, that property was easy around 1.1, 1.2. That would have added substantial value to the portfolio or to my buying capacity. Same was when I bought my first home to live in, was the next year. So in 2012, because of having this other property, I was able to buy my first home, my first property that I would be living in, and I transitioned from that property from 2012 to 2013. I wanted to upgrade because I was doing reasonably okay. There was absolutely no reason for me to sell that property.
Yeah.
And the bank said, no, you don't need to. But I was like, okay, well, I want to be mortgage free as soon as I can. Actually, in 2014, I was mortgage free.
Really?
I had no mortgage on my property, and I had surplus cash sitting there. But my mindset in 2014 was that I don't want any loans, I don't want any mortgage, And I thought that was the way to grow wealth. And very soon I realized that I was sort of being left behind, and I would see myself, other people around me sort of growing and taking the next step. So I first actually then reinvesting. I did buy a property or two in between and just held them for a year and a half. One property actually sold, which was a 2-bedroom standalone house in Meneriva in around 2012, which I simply sold because the tenants that had been there for a year wanted to move out, or they wanted to buy it themselves. And I was like, oh God, who's going to look for another set of tenants in that?
Jeez.
And I bloody just sold the property through to the tenants.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But look, again, there was no need to. It was just me being naive and impulsive.
So what was your third investment property, and what did you learn by then?
My third property was that 2-bedroom in Meneriva, and I bought it for $295, and I sold it for $385.
Yeah.
And then that's when I bought a Maserati. Oh God! So made a few mistakes.
Look, this is how I bought my.
I wouldn't change anything.
Bought my cars, and the audience need to know when I bought my first Mercedes, is I bought the property, I renovated, and then I refinanced. I topped up with the increase in valuation, and I used that to buy the car.
Yeah, and look, team, there's nothing. You have to go through this process, and you have to make these mistakes or sort of errors earlier on, but you have to be realistic and sort of sustainable in the process as well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change any of these mistakes. I don't regret any of these. These have got me to where I am and got me to the mindset that I have. But yeah, that was my third property.
So hopefully that was the last one that you sold.
That was the last one that I sold.
You see the third one. That's what they say.
That was
the
the
third
last
one
property
you start to figure out what you're doing. So don't be discouraged if you're buying your first investment.
Correct. And unless you need to sell it, or you're replacing it with a better asset or a different kind of asset, no, don't sell.
Awesome. So good, Harsimran. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you for some advice.
Yeah.
Okay. I got 3 questions for you around advice.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to tell young Harsimran to buy investment property, what would you tell him to buy and why?
I would be suggesting, in my opinion, to purchase multi-income properties that would also have some, or would have development potential. Now, it's not necessary that purchasers buy multi-income properties and go and develop them straight away, because the numbers won't quite stack up. But what I found through my experience is that a multi-income property combined with a development potential is always a crowd favorite, and there's always buyers for it. So in any kind of market, and there's less and less of these properties that come onto the market, because people don't often sell these properties, and they don't seldom come onto the market. So a block of units or a home and income, you just got to be careful. I'm talking about home and income properties, not home and granny, not home and sleep out. I'm talking about home and incomes and blocks of units or blocks of cross leases. But buying the whole lot.
My second advice that I want to ask you, Harsimran, is if you had a gun to your head and you had to make $1 million in 12 months, what would you be doing, and how are you going to execute on that plan?
I would be selling. So real estate sales, and that's only the avenue or the industry that I can really comment on, but real estate sales at the moment, although people may think that there's not a whole lot happening in the market, but it's quite the opposite. There's a lot of people that are out there that have got their hands up, that are looking for help, that are wanting solutions, that are wanting, their properties sold, or are wanting themselves out of a fix or a situation that they've got themselves in. What we're finding is that there isn't a whole lot of skill set and experience that is being utilized to the best of its capability at the current moment. People are still stuck on, or agents are still stuck on, DocuSign and negotiating on the phone and talking about excuses. I think this is a time where it is really easy to get yourself in front of people that are genuinely wanting to do the business, that is thinking of selling or purchasing. And I think for me to make $1 million in 12 months, real estate sales would be my go-to, and I'm pretty confident that we should be able to achieve that. Yeah.
So how would you try to get the customers? Like what are you going to do to make sure that you're going to get as close as to the $1 million?
I would be focusing a lot on the digital marketing side of things, but clever digital marketing. Like you have to really work out what is it that is what marketing is being productive. There's two types of marketing. You can do a certain type for exposure that can get you out there and give you a bit more exposure in terms of being recognized or being known. Then there's a very specific type where people are actually wanting to get some value off of the content that you're putting out, but also at the same time being drawn towards a lead generation avenue. So qualifying your people, knowing your digital space, making a digital presence. At the moment, I guess in the current day and age, your physical business card is less important than your digital business card, which is your digital imprint that you have. When people Google you, when people go onto your website, is it informative enough? Are you drawing people through to your lead generation sources, whatever they might be, just outsourcing that side of things and hoping and praying for genuine leads to come through is a strategy of luck and hope, and nothing really consistent comes out of those sort of strategies. So I guess I would invest and focus a bit on digital, but at the same time, I'm also a strong advocate, and I think practically I would be more focused on belly-to-belly real estate. That is, that focusing on genuine conversations. There's minor and major tasks where you focus on prospecting or building your digital presence, and that's all minor tasks. Those are things that you have to do, but they don't result in very tangible results immediately. Yeah. Since I'd be on a 12-month sort of a time frame, I would be focused more on good old real estate phone calls to genuine home sellers, whatever kind of database I'd get my hands on, or just simple conversations that I'd have and how mortgage brokers and contacts and people that I would have. Because really, we can offer the solutions, we can offer results. We just need enough people to be in front of, not plan to be in front of, not strategize and sit and spend time printing letters and flyers, but actually going out and doing it, walking around outside of the office or wherever it is and talking to people that actually own homes. Yeah. There are a lot of people that may be playing with the idea of or possibly thinking of selling but aren't quite there. They need that confidence from a particular individual or from an expert in that field to kind of push them to making that step. So actually doing the major tasks that would put me in front of home sellers.
They said at any industry, usually there's only about 3% of the market that's active, and 17% is, needing one or two things to move forward. And then you've got the 30% that is just, they know about the problem, but they're not doing anything about it.
Correct.
And then the rest is just don't know about the problem at all.
Yep. And majority of the people do know the problem. It's just that the bad state that they're in or the situation that they're in, everyone wants to get into the good stage of the situation. However, the hard part is that before things can go from bad to good, they have to get worse. Worse is the transition where you're actually doing something about it. That's what puts a lot of people off. That's what puts, I guess, anyone, say, even in the finance industry, people knowing that, okay, well, these are the things that I need to do to change my business or to fix what's not happening or I'm not doing. And same in real estate. But it's doing that part which is going to make you uncomfortable, which is going to make you, work harder or get out of your normal routine. And it's going to make things worse because even when you're fixing things, there is a bit of a, disruption that happens around you. That's what people are scared of. But once you do that, that's where the things turn for good.
Yeah, that's so good. So my last question for you is, if you only had $1,000 to invest in yourself, what would you be doing?
I would use the $1,000 for personal development. It's been a key part. There's not a whole lot you'd be able to do with $1,000 these days. But look, the only other thing you can possibly do is get a lotto. But that's again going to hopes and wishes and hoping on luck. But I would do whatever I can and probably might get the best course or the best training or the best, podcasts or content that I can get to sort of work on personal development. It is a key and the most important part of anyone's business and even personal life in today's day and age. I'm a very strong believer in that you have to work harder on yourself than on your job. That is the key aspect of success. You have to keep working hard on yourself. The results will follow, the successes will follow, but understanding where you are, what the reasons you are there for, and then understanding circumstances and other conditions around yourself can only happen if you focus on personal development.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and giving us insights. What you've done and achieved is definitely a testament to perseverance and the thinking that goes behind it. So for our listeners out there, I hope you guys found this conversation useful. And if you guys did, all I ask was one thing, and that is to share this episode with one other person that's going to find value from it. And remember, if you guys want to learn more about property and finance, subscribe to the channel. And if you guys want to talk real estate, talk about getting into the industry, talk about selling your South Auckland property or somewhere around in the vicinity, Harsimran's right there.
If you're thinking of a career in real estate, then give us a call. Look, it's the best time to get into real estate. Forget about what everyone else says. Give me a call, and Brendan will put some details below.
All good.
Thank you. Thanks for
There
having
we go.
me.
Let's
That was
go.
good, man. That was good.
You had fun?
Yeah.